Hi everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today, basically, we'll be looking at two Excel functions, and it's a function that, or they are functions rather, that are used by accountants, by finance professionals, even by investment bankers. It helps to make our work neat and seamless. And the two functions are basically the SUMIFs and then data validation. Okay, so basically the aim of this lesson is to enhance our speed in preparing the financial statement, as well as also preparing financial modeling, because it helps to not only make our work faster, it also helps to make the work neat and presentable. So now, based on what we have here on the screen, you observe that there are a group of transactions that have occurred in MTN Nigeria, which is a telecommunication company. So basically, I want to prepare, sometimes you might have like, let's say, more than 50 items or 50 items here based on transactions that has occurred over time. And you may be asked to prepare the financial statement, or maybe you have like a 3-year financial statement in which you want to make forecast on. This SUMIF will help you to make those forecasts seamlessly. So let's dive straight right in. First of all, I'm going to validate the data we have on this sheet in the sense that I'm going to create a list whereby I categorize these items, all these items, under various transaction head. So just watch what I do. So I'm copying the same format and then I'm pasting it here. Put the dollar sign. I want to centralize it. Okay, what I want my report or my financial statement or my income statement to contain is basically revenue, cost of sales, gross profit, operating expenses, and then net profit. Okay, basically, I want all these items to be fit into just 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 items. So basically, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to validate this data. I click on where we have the figure here. After clicking on it, there are two ways I could go about it. I could click on data. From data, I see this drop down here. I click on it, that's the data validation, and then I go through this place. Then I edit this and put the list because I want to create a list where I can then select where I want to categorize these items to. So they say from what source, I click on this. So I want it to be categorized into these items here. Then I click my enter. I click my enter again. So now let's go back to the first. You see it has created a drop down here. And then when you click on it, you see those items that I have categorized there. Okay. So now let me show you the other way in which you can do this. Okay, we have it here again. So what you can just do, shortcut, because as a finance, accounting, or even a data professional, you need to be very swift with your work because time is a very key component of every job. So in order for us to do the data validation, in a swift way, we are going to use the shortcut Alt-AVV. It brings out that box, and then we click on the list because it's list we want to create. And then list from where, what do I want the list to contain? I then highlight this. And then I click enter, enter again. You see that it's creating this. Now, basically, before I fill this data, before I perform this data validation for the rest of the items here, I want to do a small computation for cost of sales. As we all know, when computing for the cost of sales, we look at the purchases. That's based on the items we have at this other side. Look at the purchases, which is 480,000. Then we'll add any carriage. Oh, well, I am just saying that we have opening inventory here. So opening inventory should come first. That's opening inventory. So we have the opening inventory of 220,000. And I think there's an error here because the opening inventory is not supposed to be a negative figure. So we'll add also our carriage inward because an expense is the cost rather of bringing the goods to MTN. So we'll have our carriage inward. Carriage inward is 20,000. Okay, let me put a sign here so that we'll know if we are adding or we are subtracting. All these are additions. Okay. So we are going to less return outwards because some of the goods may have been bad or maybe over purchased. Then we are returning some to the suppliers. So we have return outwards. So return outwards of 80,000. Okay. I think basically these are the items that make up the cost of sales. Then you have to add them up together, Alt equal to enter. So originally, this is our cost of sales. But this is not the approach I want us to take because I'm just doing this so that you can confirm or you will confirm after we are done with it that this cost of sales is the same cost of sales we have at the end of the period. So coming back to our data validation, if I click here, you see the drop down again because I've already put the formula there. So when I click on it, you see the categories rather in which I want this transaction to fall under. So for the purchases, it's part of the items for cost of sales. So in order for us to, if I click here, you'll see that you won't see the drop down because the formula was only entered in this first cell here. So what I can do is I copy and then I paste it all down rather. So you see it's having cost of sale, cost of sale, cost of sale, but all of them are not categorized as cost of sale. So let's pick them out one after the other. Return outwards, as we treated in this aspect of the cost of sale. So it's an item or a factor of cost of sale. Carriage inward is also part of cost of sales. Revenue, it has its own heading there, so we classify that as revenue. Then return inwards reduces revenue, so we should classify it as revenue. Return inwards are those goods that the customers return back to the company, maybe as a result of defects or obsolescence and so on and so forth. So we have carriage outward. Carriage outward is an expense to the business. So let's put it as operating expense, because it is the cost of transporting goods to your customers if you want to, because not all businesses do that. Then we have closing inventory. Closing inventory is a factor of cost of sales. Yeah. So there is an error here, meaning that cost of sale, we are supposed to remove cost of sales. I forgot about that. I didn't see it. Cost closing inventory. Okay. Closing inventory. This is it. Enter. Okay. So I can recalculate this. So it's now 540,000. Okay. Can you see why classing these items rather is very important? So we have closing inventory as cost of sales. Opening inventory is also cost of sales. Then we have office expense. It's an operating expense. So we classify it as operating expense. Depreciation, we also classify it as an operating expense. Salaries and wages, we classify as operating expense. So by doing this, the work is done. Only what we need to do now is to then apply what? The sum ifs. So what the formula is just telling us that sum whatever figure you see in this place whenever you find a particular item that is related to it. As easy as that. So we have our sum ifs. Open your bracket. Now, what range, what criteria are you trying to give? I want it to be based on this criteria. Comma. Based on this range, sorry. Why the criteria? That means whenever I see revenue from this list, add it up. Whenever I see cost of sales from this list, add it up. So that's what that place is meaning or means. Then the sum range, we're looking at the value now. So we're going to highlight this and then we'll close our bracket. But now there's something I want you to notice. If we hit the enter button, you see that it's giving us 900,000. Let me copy the format. Okay. You see that we have 900,000, but the revenue here is 1 million. The reason being that the return inwards reduced our sales. Now, if you notice, you see the return inwards of 100,000 and we classify it as revenue. Why? Because we sold goods worth 1 million, and then 100,000 worth of goods was returned by customers. So meaning that our sales is no more 1 million, but now 900,000. So that's why it's computed this as this. So after doing this, what I can do is I will just drag. And that's it. As easy as this. But now, if you take a look at this, you will see that the cost of sales is providing here is just 60,000. So we are going to find out why it's giving us cost of sales of just 60,000 instead of 560,000. So now, if you take a look at this initial formula, you would observe that the range is intact, right? Okay, come to the next formula. You see that it's moving one cell downward, which we don't want. We want it to be based on these criteria. So what we're going to do is that we are going to lock some cells. So we'll come to this aspect. J3 to J13, which is from here to this place, we are going to lock it as F4. We are going to lock the whole of that side. Now, coming to this other side, which is the criteria here. Now, I want it to be in a way that I can move downward, meaning that I'm going to lock D, but I won't lock the numbers so that it can be going down, but it can move outside D. So I will lock D. Yeah. While the sum range, I'm going to lock the same way I locked the range. I'm going to lock also the sum range. So I'm going to have it this way. F4. Okay. Then I drag down. So can you see that it has given me my 540 as my cost of sales? So what do I need to do now? Gross profit is the difference between revenue and the cost of sales. So I can just come and say equal to this minus this, giving us what? $360,000. And then to get our net profit is simply gross profit minus operating expense. So I could just put my alt equal to, that's trying to sum. Oops, sorry. I'm summing it from 19, yeah, then equal to. What could be the problem? Okay. It's format. Okay. So meaning that our net profit for the period is 148,000. So as easy as that. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment if any question. See you next class.